In the spring of 1877, the Ponca tribe, a small tribe living in a remote corner of the northern Great Plains for a whole host of economic and historical reasons, were physically removed from their land, their beloved homeland where they had lived for 200 years. The United States Cavalry physically marched them from the South Dakota-Nebraska border to what was then called the Indian Territory, it's now called Oklahoma, and unceremoniously dumped them on the land with no provisions, no clothing, no food. The Ponca people, 750 strong, were forced to fend for themselves. They clustered increasingly along these damp, dank ravines that were overwhelmed with mosquitoes carrying malaria. Ponca had no resistance to any of this. So within 1 year, between June 1878 and June 1879 of the next year, more than 1/3 of the Ponca tribe had died. More than 250 people had died. Sometimes families died in entire weeks. That Christmas, December of 1878, Standing Bear's only son, a 16-year-old boy by the name of Bear Shield, lay dying in the bottom of a dank army canvas tent in north central Oklahoma. But before his eyes closed in death, he begged his father to promise that upon his death, Chief Standing Bear would take this boy and repatriate his remains to their sacred homeland near the confluence of the Missouri and Niobrara River. So on the afternoon of January 2nd, 1879, with the air temperature 23 below up ahead, Standing Bear wrapped the body of his only son in his best clothes, wrapped him in a buffalo robe, put him in the back of a rickety wagon, and began to walk from north central Oklahoma to the Nebraska-South Dakota border. They went day after day, week after week, month after month, came within 2 days of reaching the old sacred homeland, and they were caught by the United States Army, turned, moved to Fort Omaha, where a constellation of events kicked in, including the most powerful religious leader in Omaha, the most powerful attorney, the most powerful general in the United States Army west of the Mississippi, a grizzly bear hunting judge, and the most revered lawyer, all came together in a series of events that ultimately led to Standing Bear having his day in court on the second floor of a federal courtroom on the corner of 15th and Dodge in Omaha. On the end of the last day of trial, 10 o'clock at night, Standing Bear had asked permission to speak to the judge and to the courtroom. And the judge, for the first time in American history, according to him, allowed an American Indian to dress a federal courtroom. Standing Bear got to the front of the courtroom, turned, looked at the judge, held up his hand and said, "That hand is not the same color as yours, but if I pierce it, I shall feel pain. If you pierce your hand, you also will feel pain. The blood that will flow from mine is the same color of yours. I am a man, the same God made us both." His words were translated by the Omaha poet Susan LaFleche, also known as Bright Eyes, and when her words went across that crowded courtroom, there was a hush that came over that crowded second floor courtroom on the evening of May 2nd, 1879. Nobody spoke. And after a while, you could hear women beginning to cry in the back. The grizzly frontier judge jumped up from his chair, went over and shook Standing Bear's hand. Soon General Crook, the highest ranking officer west of the Mississippi, jumped up from his chair and shook Standing Bear's hand. And pretty soon a bunch of others done the same. And then the courtroom burst into applause, hearing an American Indian eloquently express the humanity and the civil rights that were unveiled in that courtroom. Within the next 2 weeks, Judge Dundee ruled for the first time in the 103-year history of the United States in favor of an American Indian, declaring for the first time in our nation's history that Standing Bear and people who look like him have to be considered within the meaning of the law as a person entitled to the same constitutional protections as the more fortunate white race. And that is why many Native American people view Standing Bear as the Martin Luther King of Native Americans and as one of this country's first true, genuine, real civil rights heroes.